This is Nikki Clarke, and I am here in my beloved home country, Jamaica. I'm actually here in the most beautiful Hope Gardens in Kingston, Jamaica, and I am so excited to share some more stories of inspiration and transformation. And I have an incredible interview with the very Reverend Father Peter Clarke. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
I became a Canadian citizen in 1975 after going there and falling in love with the country and the people. And I have to advise young people that the love that I saw, the care that I saw of Canadians, their friendship, their way of trying to help others is something that is ingrained in the psyche of the Canadian. And some foreigner from somewhere cannot change the nature of the Canadian, or something, the true nature of Canadian. So remember to help one another with the same characteristic that is common to Canadians of all. Make sure that the needy and the wants are met. Be loving and caring as you have done over the world for so many years. And God will bless the land of the maple, the land of the maple leaf, the land of the flag, where people live in peace and harmony and blessing. As it is said in many parts of Scripture, peace is very important, and you cannot live by the tenets of the world. Either you're for the kingdom of heaven, or you're for the world. You cannot be in both places. So the tenets for the world is money and all the attachment that goes along with it. The hatred, you name it. You have to live by love. And love itself is expressed by the great Hebrew word shalom, which means peace. And so love is in peace. Everything that you do in love is really in peace. It cannot be done disharmoniously. And so Jesus has always said, peace I give to you, and you are to return this peace to others. You are to share it with others so that you can enjoy peace. If you continue to lambast your brothers and sisters, it will be a cycle and it continues. If you continue to live by, we need money. Every one of us need money, but it is not the root of love. The root of evil is money. You are to attempt to live by love at all times and in the spirit of sharing, so that while you may not have a lot, when you share, it will be returned to you by the divine hand. and you will not know where it will happen. It will happen to you on the roadside with your car. That some stranger came and helped you who you did not know. This is how peace, love, and harmony and unity works. This is what the fraternity teaches. This is what the church should teach, but it not always teaches those things. Some churches have gone far enough to build everything on money and what they can get from you for the purposes of the church. That is not what this is all about. This is a matter of sharing to make sure that whatever that can be given to someone who is in need is done. And you will be blessed accordingly. This is a common thing. This is a simple thing. You know. If you're driven by money all the time, you're going to have a problem. If you share and you have good words for others, and even when it is difficult for you to give, you have a good word and you find some ways to help somebody, you will get it back. As a member of the church in the position of lay ministry at the Anglican Church, St. Paul's Anglican Church, Hodenage, I served 8 years as the treasurer of it, and many years of the church committee. I served the church well. And many times people would say to me, yeah, you're a minister, are you? And I said, no, I'm not an ordained minister. But they always ask that question. And, with discussion with my family, and my wife said, why not find out from the rector of St. Paul's whether or not you could be, that was 1985, whether or not you could be admitted into the seminary at McGill University. I spoke to the Canon John McNabb. He listened to me, and then he just, the meeting was over, and he said nothing to me. When I poured out all my intention to be a priest, he listened to me and nothing else. So my attempt to be a minister was from 1985, which only materialized when I returned to Jamaica. Because I don't know what was the question, why Canon did not. He was the head of the college at that time, the seminary at McGill. Why is it that I was not considered to be a candidate for the seminary?
When did you return to Jamaica?
94, which was like 11 years after I could have been in ministry from 1985. But that being said, the matter of how I would view this for young people in the community in Montreal, whether they are, regardless of color, is that these objectives, these objects, these obstacles, these things for you to overcome, you should not give up. There's no need for you to give up. You fight, you continue to look for ways according to your calling and never give up. So that did not work out, but that don't mean that I would not be a priest in the Anglican Church, because in returning to Jamaica, I was ordained in the Anglican priesthood and became dean of the parish of St. Elizabeth, and so on and so on. And that went on for 12 years of ordained ministry. So there's nothing really to stop you. You are the ones who stop yourselves. You are to find a solution, like I said in an earlier part, where people with the same problem get together, join together. There's no need to get in any quarrel with anybody. You join together, find a solution, let everybody participate, and see how, as a group, you move forward. The same thing in the fraternity. The fraternity teaches us that we are looked on as a part of one brotherhood of God, under one fatherhood of God. The brotherhood of man under one fatherhood. We're all brothers. And we are to listen to one another and help to solve each other's problem for the betterment and good of all. This is what we learn. This is what sometimes the church does not teach. Because in some church there's people who try to out-excel, try to be prejudiced against some and the likes. But the fraternity, the Freemasons, the Mechanic Order, the Ancient Order of Foresters, the Elk, the Shriners, all these people are for the betterment of God under the fatherhood of God. And so I quote for you one Psalm, Psalm 133, which is David's Psalm of a higher degree given to all persons for unity and love. It says, "Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. It is like the precious ointment on the head that ran down the beard, even the Aaron's beard that went down to the skirts of his garment, and as the dew of Hermon, as the dew descended on the mountains of Zion, for there the Lord commanded the blessing, even life forevermore." So what it teaches, what is it saying? We are to get together, solve our problems together, and when you do that and you live in unity and love, God blesses that. If you do something else, whether it is prejudice or whatever that causes a division, God is not going to agree with that. You will not be blessed for your prejudices. You will only be blessed when it is in unity. The church has one gift, a grace that is given to it by Jesus the Christ. It is unity. Unity. Its gift, its blessing, it's unity. So go to church for unity and love. And that ties into Psalm 133. In Jamaica, there are many fraternities and groups that people form in community life. The church, the lodges, the various Rotary clubs, and so on. My father-in-law was a member of the Ancient Order of Foresters, and they had a church service at the St. Elizabeth Parish Church, and he invited me to come with him. I enjoyed it so much with the fellowship that was exhibited between him and his brethren, that when I reached Montreal and felt the need for that clinging, that fraternal brotherhood among people, I actually went hunting for the Foresters organization, even without an invitation, and I know you must be invited. And my inquiries took me to Toronto, a building on Yonge Street in the middle of Toronto, looking for this Ancient Foresters. When I went into the office, it was somebody who was selling insurance. They were in insurance. It wasn't a fraternity at all. I was also a member of the church ever since in Montreal. And I took my young family to church one Sunday, and I noticed that when we came in, most of the persons moved on to the other side of the church. And my daughter, who was then joined by, at that time, two brothers, asked them, why is it that we're alone and everybody went over there? And then we understood what was going on, and we started to go to our church, the Anglican church St. Paul's Anglican Church, Coordinate. Here in the Coordinate setting where communities from the Caribbean and so on went to church based on maybe the same reason that we had, started to invite me to join fraternities that existed in Jamaica and the Caribbean, like the Independent Order of Mechanics and the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite and the Freemason group. And so I was invited and I joined the ancient Freemasons at the Meridian Lodge number 125, which was in Pierrefonds, Quebec. And the main temple was downtown St. Mark's Street. And it was with all the things that were going on in society at that time. I found fellowship with my brethren, English and French brethren, because there were, when I became a member of Meridian number 125, there were 77 members, and only 2 black members were there. And those brethren, white, took care of me and made sure that me and my family was in good order. So I always loved my brethren, and English and the French, particularly French brethren and their families. They were very close to me. As young persons who were graduates of college in Jamaica, we got married in 1966, and we decided that with our friends that we just couldn't go to university at the cost of university in Jamaica and the Caribbean. So we decided that as a young family we would go to Canada and study in our various fields. My wife was in education. She had graduated from St. Joseph Teachers College, and I was a graduate from Jamaica School of Agriculture. So she would study education, and I would study agriculture. We had our first child, a beautiful girl, her name Nicola Navan. And to facilitate our going to Canada, we had to leave her with her grandmother to care for her for a year or thereabouts until we got settled into Canadian society. Originally we wanted to go to Calgary, but my boss in Jamaica gave me a telephone number that was a friend of his. I had no other contact. So when we reached Montreal, I called him. I didn't know him before. And, he said, well, where are you? You're at the Laurentian Hotel. That it was the most expensive hotel in Montreal in those days. That was '69. He said, we got to get you out of there the next morning in an apartment. And that is how we ended up in Montreal and did not go on to Calgary at all. During this course of time, we started in a very small apartment in the Golden Age area at $125 for a 1.5. And the little monies that we had could carry us until we get ourselves established. Fortunately for us, Pierre Trudeau, the Prime Minister, and with the Monsieur René Lévesque and the persons who were in government, decided that French was absolutely necessary for anybody student or immigrant, it doesn't matter. Peer to do would pay an allowance to those who studied French full time. And so my wife and I, although we had our studies scheduled for our agriculture, my part in education, our part followed with the immersion course, full-time French for 5 months each, paid for by the federal government. She studied in Coquille Prairie, and I studied in Quebec City, the French language. And so this was a basic start, because a week after I completed my course and a week after she completed her course, which was the same Friday, by Monday I got a job in the French sector, speaking French, which was in Joliet, Quebec. The independence meant I was engaged as the laboratory analytic technician for Spain manufacturing, and my wife was engaged at the Montreal Catholic School Commission in the teaching profession. So essentially that was the startup.
And what were the challenges you faced in Montreal as a member of the Black community?
Right away, when we were in Montreal, there was a noticeable difference between the culture that we came from and the culture that we now were engaged in. And first of all, you became conscious that when you went to any public place, people were looking at you. We never had that kind of attention paid to us in Jamaica. But when we went into stores and so on, people would have their eyes on us and watch us, what we were doing. So we were not, and of course nobody was calling us cousin anymore. It was Patricia and Peter, as the case might be. And they would add other adjectives to it, which was very unusual for us. So that was a shocker for us.
So I imagine this experience, when you got further into your journey in Montreal, must have catapulted your desire to start a group to support those who may have felt marginalized because of the cultural differences.
One of the things that we started to find, because my wife went to McGill, the Faculty of Education, to study education, and I could not get into the Faculty of Agriculture at McDonald campus because of the Jamaica School of Agriculture did not forward a recommendation on my behalf. So although my love was for agriculture, at McGill I had to switch to commerce and administration. What we found was that whenever we went to an interview for a job in those early days, it was always that we are too qualified. And persons who are less qualified to get the job. So, or we're not qualified in this particular field. So it's no longer agriculture. I would have to prepare myself for business, for commerce, for personal management and the other kinds of management necessary, because what I had as background was not enough. So there I had to switch to commerce and administration, which I did, and acquired the Bachelor of Commerce at McGill University, professional certification in management from the Guild, and then the Canadian Institute of Management, because of how I performed and so on, bestowed on me the professional title of certified in management. And then not too long after, I was considered in my professionalship for the professional manager, which is like postgraduate management in Canada. And so, although with all these things that you studied and you achieved, people would still tell you that you're overqualified, you're too qualified. It's no longer the discipline that is the problem, because you reach a Canadian qualification of commerce, business, management, and so on. That was not the question now. Is that you're too qualified. So even jobs like being a car salesman, you couldn't get a car salesman job. And so other persons like myself who were in Montreal, especially from Jamaica, there were 12 Jamaicans who were, there may have been many others, but at that time, 12 of us got together at the airport Hilton to start an understanding of why couldn't we get the employment, the professional treatment as others had, and also be in business to have our own business. And so the Montreal Black Business and Professional Association was formed about 1972 in the to take care of those necessities. So it was for professionalism. The people there did not consider us to be professional. Even when we were graduates of the most famous McGill University, we were not professional enough to get the beautiful jobs that everybody had. And so that group was formed to bring for our situation to the government, the authority, the municipal, the provincial, and the federal government, and to speak for others at this level in a professional group, the Montreal Black Business and Professional Association. For that question, my mother would be my main inspiration. She took me everywhere she was going, whether it was to the market, the common market, to ride on the trucks and the buses and the carts that she took. And as her first son, that was kind of a privilege for me, because my other siblings were all females at that time, until the second son came, Basil, who was way down the line. So she would take me wherever she went, whether it is the marketplace, to ride the bus, to ride the truck, to ride the dray cart, or to go to weddings, the receptions of weddings, baptism. And I was noted at all of these events to be a spokesperson. They would have a stool, maybe about 18 inches high, and they would put me on the stool from that age, maybe about 6 years upwards to 10, 11, to speak on behalf of her and her family. And the people in the countryside thought that I was a good spokesman for the family.
And I understand she wanted you to be either a politician or a pastor.
Yeah, that was the profession that she selected for me, to be a politician or a minister of religion, a priest. Well, my childhood was an extensive one, and remained with me in the district where I was born in Barton, St. Catharines, remains very prominent in my mind. For instance, almost everyone that you saw around you was considered your cousin. So it was like a family-oriented part of the country. And so you wanted to be careful because you're dealing with a family at home, mother and father, and outside you're dealing with cousin mothers and fathers that could discipline you as well. And you would be reminded that if you do not behave yourself, they could discipline you and report you to your parents. So that was the kind of life that was there in the 40s, early 40s, late 40s, early 50s.
What was your fondest childhood memory in Jamaica?
The ability to walk to school without any hindrances, to play games with your friends, to be a member of the Boy Scouts, to lead the Boy Scouts. There was no hesitancy in, for instance, in the Cubs or the Scouts for you to be elected by your contemporary and supported by the master to be the leader of that Boy Scout. We took fun in playing all kinds of sports. Cricket, soccer, athletics, you name it. Going to the rivers that are nearby. We had a main river known as Marshall's Dale. We would go there and catch fish, and especially river water shrimps and so on. And it was lots of fun.